Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to another episode live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg and our good friend Lee Fogel, who's been sharing Brit Shalom. Such a joy. I know it's daylight savings time here in the Pacific Northwest, where I am, and many places around, especially here in the Western world. So, I really hope that people learn to catch this. It doesn't happen in Israel until the 26th of March this year. So I think the default position should be, if ever you see this advertised and it's daylight savings, revert to Jerusalem time. So I think that puts us one step closer to Mashiach anyway. So, default to Jerusalem time in the event of any question. But still, I've had lots of chit chats online, people wondering when it was going to go on, was it going to happen? But we're still joined by a great amount of people all around the planet in the Zoom room. So I'm just going to jump right into the rabbi and turn it over to him because it's his class. Rabbi Goldberg, always good to be with you. I love hearing Torah coming out of the nation of Israel.
Good evening, Dan. Good evening, everybody from Jerusalem. Wherever you are in the world, as Dan said, Jerusalem is the central of the world. The truth is that because the world is around like a ball or something like that, so everyone is in the center of the world. It's a big responsibility. Okay, think about this. But on the other side, all of us have one center towards God, and this is where God is sitting in Jerusalem, and hopefully soon He will also speak with us back, like in the prophecy time. Meanwhile, we have the possibility of listening to the things that we inherited from the rabbis along history, and this is the way how we are preserving the Bible, the Old Testament, what unfortunately for very few centuries was disallowed of learning, and now we are exposing everything, we're teaching everything, and that's it. Let's go on. Let's dive in straight ahead inside. I will share my screen as usual, and we started to speak about Abraham and what is happening with him. So I will mention something that we spoke last week, and I will try to be a bit more exact, so it will be more clear. We said that there's a difference between the word nations, amim, okay, goyim, and the word families, mishpachot. And we said that in the beginning, in the Noach time, we were families, and we spread over from families to nations, and now Abraham is being in the vice versa, okay? He says from the beginning that I will bring you, I will do you, you will become a goy gadol, a big nation, okay? And this is what is a great nation. And from there on, you will be blessing all the entire earth, all the families of the entire earth will be blessed in you. So we're going back from nations to families. What is the difference between nations and families? It is also related to the difference between, I will say, culture and territory, okay? When we are in a different culture, it's also, we can do a festival of cultures. I have one culture, you're doing a different one, and the other one is doing a third one, but we can live together. Families, the main, I will say, basis of the families, that they have good relationships one with each other. And to fight between families, it's a fight between families. It's something that is unique, is not unusual thing. And when we're moving from culture to territories, okay, this is my territory. I'm in England, you in Scotland. Scotland is mine also. Be careful. Don't feel too much comfortable. When we're starting to speak about territories, we're starting to fight. So the basic of nations is fight one with each other. And it's a bit rare or a bit unique that there will be also peace between nations. Today it's also being, and this is what is happening. We were families, 70 families, that went out from the Noach Ark, and they become nations, and they started a lot of fights one with each other. So God decided to do a great nation that is a unique nation. It's not a normal nation. It's a nation that is being beat from all of the nations, I will say it like that. It's something that is giving blessings to the nations. It's something else. But it will bring all the nations back to become families of the earth, and from all over the earth, and all of the earth will be, all the families of the earth will be blessed from this nation. This is what we explained last time. This is what we mentioned last time. And this is the main aim that Abraham is studying. Now, we need to understand, and we explained this also before, when it says that, it says here that Abraham took the souls that they had acquired in Haran. So we read Rashi already, and we will see this again in Rashi. How can you say that there are souls that they did? Nobody can do a soul, nobody can do something like that. And Rashi is explaining to us that, Dan, please read this again. It's something that we read a few times, if you can read it again, please.
And the souls they had acquired in Haran, whom he had brought under the wings of the Shekinah, Abraham would convert the men and Sarah would convert the women, and Scripture ascribes to them a merit as if they made them.
Okay, so we said it, that when you are educating someone, is like this is like you are repairing him from the beginning, okay, doing him something new, rebuilding him to something that is new for him. And he's getting, he's building himself through this education. And this is what Abraham did. He converted the man, and Sarah converted the woman. And Abraham till now thought that this is the way how to spread over the words of God, to convert more and more and more people. And suddenly, God is coming to him and saying to him, I'm sorry, please, you need to go. Lech lecha. What is lech lecha? Go forth from your land and from your birthplace and from your father's house. No, it's not, the translation is not 100%. Okay, lech lecha is go out by yourself. That's it. Leave everything. Leave everything that you thought. You thought that you're going to gather a lot of people around you, and that they will spread over everything that you believe in. No, now you need to go for yourself. Lech lecha is go for yourself. Go with yourself only. Go with your wife, and that's it. Leave all of the people around. And this is where I'm going to make you into a great nation, and you will be blessing to all of the entire earth and all of the families of this earth. And if we will read verse number 4, please read verse number 4.
4. And Abram went as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran.
So what we see here, first of all, that Abraham went, and if we will look closely, we will see that he went as God spoken with him. I mean, he left by himself, only with his wife. So we'll tell me, but Lot went with him. Lot decided to go with him. It's not that Abraham took him. First of all, Abraham did as God spoke with him. God spoken with him and told him, go by yourself. So he left everybody and he took only himself. And then we are very surprised to see in verse number 5 that Abraham also took all the families and all the people that they did in Haran, and they went to Canaan. Now, it's very important to see that there are twice Abraham went towards the promised land, okay? In the first one, it doesn't say to what land he is going to go. God is saying to him, go there. Where? I don't know. God told me to go. I will go. Where to? He will tell me where to stop. This is in verse number 1. To the land that I will show you. I don't know exactly where. God will tell me when to stop, and that's it. Let's look for a moment in the previous chapter, okay? In the previous chapter, we see something very unique, very simple, but it's written down. People don't really see that. Please read verse number 31.
31. And Terah took Abram, his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, the wife of Abram, his son, and they went forth with them from the Ur of the Chaldees to go to the land of Canaan. And they came as far as Haran and settled there.
So what was the target point of Terach? Where did they want to go? Where was their last destination? It was to the land of Canaan, right? It's written down. They got stuck in Haran, okay? More or less, I can say it about my grandparents, okay? They went out from Germany in the days of the Second World War, and they went through Cuba to the United States, and they got stuck there, my grandparents, until my parents came to the land of Canaan, and then my grandparents also came to the land of Canaan, okay? But the main aim of Terach was to come to the Canaan land, to the place where Canaan placed himself, okay? To the land, it's the land of the Hebrew people. I think we showed this also already more than once. This is the land of the Hebrew people. And they wanted to go there, but they got stuck on the way. They got stuck in Haran. Now, what is happening is that Abraham is going in a...
Matityahu, I think you have your microphone open.
I closed it. Just a moment, let me do another one important thing. Just a moment. Sorry. Here it is. Dan, you have permission now to reorganize everything that is bothering us, okay? If you need to mute someone, mute him, don't be shy. Okay, so we see that there are twice when Abraham went to the promised land, or I will say he went to the promised land. This is what we see in verse number 1, and this is where he went by himself to the land that I will show you. God is saying to him, this is the promised land. You will be there. I don't know where it is. Abraham doesn't know yet where it is. And the second time he is going in verse number 5 to the land of Canaan, just like his father started but stopped in Haran. Now he is continuing to go to Canaan. Now, I'm not saying here, I will, it's a bit complicated with a bit of math, so be with me for a moment, okay? I'm going to show this, that there were twice, I will say 2 times, where Abraham went out and got the promised land, and he had another time that he went out, okay? I don't know why he withdrew back, but he went back and came back another time, okay? I'm going to show this. It's a bit complicated, but I'm sure that all of you will manage to keep your head and do a bit of calculation with me and to see everything. So here we're saying that what is the age that Abraham went out to Canaan? What was the age? We're saying here 75, right?
Correct.
Fine. Now go with me with what I'm going to show you now. Let's jump a few chapters ahead. And in chapter number 15, just a moment, we'll see it. In chapter number 15, we have a big world war, okay? It's a big one. It's 4 kings against 5 kings, okay? And this is where they're having a very big fight on Sodom and Amorah and everything else. And Abraham managed to, you can read verse number 9, please.
Verse number 9, when Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and Tidal, the king of Goim, and Amraphel, the king of Shinar, and Arioch, the king of Elaser, 4 kings against the 5.
Big battle there. 4 kings against 5 kings. It's a very big battle. And Sodomite lost, and Lot, okay, the nephew of Abraham, was being kidnapped or was captured. And Abraham went and managed to take back. Please read verse number 16.
16, and he restored all the possessions, and also Lot his brother, and his possessions he restored, and also the women and the people.
Fine. So he managed to do this fight back and everything else. And then after this situation, he is giving back to Sodomite all the people and all the things around. And here we're finding something very unique. Please read verse number 1.
After these incidents, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great.
So we see that Abraham was fearing from something. He was fearing from something, right? Don't be, if I'm saying to someone, don't fear, so I see that he is fearing from something. And he was frightened from something. And this is what God is saying to him, don't fear. From what he was fearing, let's see for a moment, Rashi. We're not going to read all of the Rashi for a moment. Please read from here.
Therefore the Omnipresent said to him, Fear not, Abram, I am your shield from punishment, that you will not be punished for all those souls that you have slain. And as far as your being worried about receiving reward, your reward is exceedingly great.
Okay, so he's saying to him, I know that you did a very big fight. There was a big war between 4 kings against 5 kings and everything else. And then you managed to beat all of them, and you took back Lot, but don't fear that you killed a lot of people. Okay, so Abraham is asking him, please read verse number 2.
And Abram said, O Lord God, what will you give me, since I am going childless, and the steward of my household is Eliezer of Damascus?
Fine. And God is promising him something very, very nice. And he's saying to him, in verse number 4, please.
And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, This one will not inherit you, but the one who will spring from your innards, he will inherit you.
Fine. So we say that Abraham is getting a promise that someone from him will be, he will have a child. He will have a child. Fine. And not only a child, something else is promising him. Please read verse number 7.
And he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you forth from Ur of the Chaldees to give you this land to inherit it.
So we're speaking about what land? What land are we speaking about? Speaking about the land of Israel, the Canaan land.
The one,
okay?
Inherit, yeah.
Yes, he's giving him, he's promising him that he will have a child, and he's promising him also that this Canaan land is going to be the land of the Hebrew people. And after that, he's saying to him another very important verse, but you need to know also something very important. Please read verse number 13.
13, and he said to Abram, You shall surely know that your seed will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and they will enslave them and oppress them 400 years.
Where exactly the Hebrew people went and have been enslaved? In Egypt. So let's jump for a moment, okay? Let's jump for a moment and don't be surprised. My main question is, how old is Abraham now when God is promising him the Canaan land and also that he will have a child? It's not written down here, okay? But it's written down in somewhere else. I want to show you, please. So let's go to to Exodus in chapter 12. And it's a very long chapter. We read it yesterday as a preparation for for Passover that is going to be in 2 weeks from now. And please, let's read for a moment verse number 40.
40. And the habitation of your children, of the children of Israel, that they dwelled in Egypt, was 430 years.
So we're speaking about 440 years. Okay,
30.
30 years. Let's read for a moment, Rashi, about this. How are we doing the calculation? Okay, it's very important because now we will see something a bit not weird, but we will start to see something very important that will help us with what we're speaking in the beginning of chapter 12, verse number 40. Just here it is. Please read. Was 400 years and 30 years.
Was 430 years. Altogether, from the time that Isaac was born until now, were 400 years. From the time that Abraham had a child, the prophecy that your seed will be strangers, Genesis 15:13, was fulfilled, and there were another 30 years from the decree between the parts of Genesis 15:10 until Isaac was born.
That's it. So this is enough for now, okay? So we're saying like that. We're saying that 400 years was from the time that Isaac was born, and 30 years before that, this was the prophecy that we spoke now. What was the prophecy that we spoke now, that we showed now? The prophecy that God said to him, you will have child, and you will inherit the Hebrew land, right? What age Abraham gave birth to Isaac, or Isaac was born? What age Abraham was when Isaac was born? To who?
100.
100. So if you're speaking 30 years before that, what is the age of Abraham?
70.
Just a moment ago, we said that in the beginning of chapter 12, he is 75 years old. Right? You with me? So we have two times that Abraham went from Haran towards the Hebrew land. Once was when he was 70 years old, and it's written down in the chapters in chapter 15, 16. And the other one was when he was 75 years old, and this is written down in chapter 12. You with me till now? It's a bit complicated, but it's not so complicated. Everything is fine. We have, again, I'm summarizing everything. We have we have two times that we see that Abraham went towards Canaan, towards the Hebrew land. Once when he was 70 years old, and this is where God told him that he will have birth with another child, his child, not another child, his child, and he will get the Hebrew land. And this was when he was 70 years old. And another time that he went to the Hebrew land, as it's written down in chapter 12, that he was already 75 years old. We have two times that Abraham went to the Hebrew land. And this is where I'm going back to chapter 12, and I will show this again, not in Exodus, but in just a moment, Genesis chapter 12. Let's jump to Genesis chapter 12 again. And I will show you two ways how Abraham is coming to the promised land. The first one is the first 4 verses, okay? That God said to him, go to this land. And
from your birthplace?
Yes.
You want me to read the first 4?
Yes, read the first 4.
And the Lord said to Abraham, go forth from your land and from your birthplace and from your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will aggrandize your name, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse, and all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you. And Abram went, and as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran.
So we see here, I will say like that, the first one time that he is 75 years old, and he is going on the path that God told him, and he is leaving everybody aside. In the first time, when he was 70 years old, okay, we see something else. It is not as the Lord spoken with him, okay, that he went alone, only with his wife, and his nephew went with him, so he didn't kick him out. And the second time we see that Abraham didn't took only himself. This is what we spoke about, the 70 years old. Please read verse number 5. It's a bit different thing.
And Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had acquired, and the souls they had acquired in Haran, and they went to go to the land of Canaan, and they came to the land of Canaan.
So, and we see here something a bit different. We see here something that Abraham took with him a lot of people, and he was still thinking about this mission that he took upon himself. And I will say he disagreed with God. I don't know how to say this exactly. It's not like it's written down in verse number 4 that he did as God spoken to him. Here it's something a bit different. God said to him, go by yourself, and he is not going by himself in the second time that he went there. And he's taking with him a lot of people that he managed to inquire them. He managed to bring them under the, to convert them to become Jewish. So something there is a bit, I will say, unclear, not 100% clear with what the aim of Abraham, and if he is 100% listening to God. In one time that he went, he listened to God more, fully listened to God, and the other one he went with a bit, opposing God. He said to God, you have your ideas, but I'm still working in my ideas. I'll say it like that. And it's very important also to see in verse number 6. Please read verse number 6.
And Abram passed through the land until the place of Shechem, until the plain of Morah, and the Canaanites were then in the land.
We need to read Rashi for that. We must read Rashi for that to understand what exactly is happening here. You need to read all of the Rashi, please.
And Abram passed through the land. He entered therein until the place of Shechem to pray for Jacob's sons when they would come to wage war in Shechem, from unknown midrashic source, also quoted by Radak, until the plain of Morah, that is Shechem. He showed him Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, where Israel accepted the oath of the Torah from aforementioned midrashic source, and the Canaanites were then in the land. He, the Canaanite, was gradually conquering the land of Israel from the descendants of Shem, for it fell in Shem's share when Noah apportioned the land to his sons, as it is said below, 14 and 18, and Melchizedek, the king of Salem, therefore, below verse 7, and the Lord said to Abram, to your seed will I give this land. I am destined to restore it to your children who are of the descendants of Shem from Sifra and of Kedeshim. Now, Rabbi, I find that amazing because I found some archaeology this week that really validates that that area, the old city back to the time of,
Oh, fine. First of all, you're taking me to a place. I will mention what you said now, but the main thing is to understand that this land was supposed to be the land of the descendants of Shem, and the Canaan took it from them, and this is where God is saying, I'm determined to bring it back to the Shem dynasty, and this is where Abraham, your kids will get this. And this is what we say here, and the Canaan were then in the land. It wasn't their land, they were capturing this land. There's another thing that is written down here in this verse, and this is where usually when last year, just before the Corona, I was in the United States. I met Terry, I met Scotty there, and I also met a few people who came to do tour in Israel. And we had a long discussion, because one of the things that we are doing in Israel, we are doing tours that are with not only showing the places, but also showing the people, and also going to places where usually people are not going. When I'm saying that, usually people skipping on all of the places of the Bible, and we are taking people to Mount Gerizim and to Mount Ebal, and we're taking people to the Shalom, and we're taking people to those places, and we're showing the roots of the Bible. And we're not only showing those places that are very unique places, we also managing to show to have meetings, I will say, with people from Israel who are living in those places. And this is a different way of hiking or different way of touring in Israel. And I spoke with people that did tours to Israel, and they said to me, look, we spent a lot of money and we went to a lot of places in Israel, but we never saw the people in Israel and we never saw the Bible places. So we felt that we spent a lot of valued money without getting the full value of the money that we spent. And those are things that we are doing. We have pictures. We did a few already. Now we had a year that we stopped all the tours. But those are the places that we are taking people. And as you said, with the archaeology and all of those things, today we know exactly those places where they were and what exactly we did, the Hebrew nation, what they did in all of those places, and how they managed to do something similar, like Adam and Eve, who were kicked out from Eden, to start to worship God and to worship the land, to work the land, to manage to do something in their life, and not to stay all the time in heaven. And the same thing is happening with the Hebrew nation as a nation in Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. So Abraham went along to those places. Those are very essential places that are showing difference in the way how to look in life as a nation that is living the right way as God asked them to live. And from there will be the blessing to all the nations. But what we saw now is that the things here are a bit more complicated and a bit more insight, that there is first of all, that Abraham came or saw this promised land more than once. And so we saw twice, okay, that he came here. Secondly, that God is asking him to come and to build up a new nation. And for Abraham, it's a bit hard to say that or to do that. And he is still taking with him people that he converted and all of those things. And he's saying to God, I think that we need to do things differently. Don't be afraid. God will teach him exactly what to do. God's know exactly how to behave also with Abraham. But this is a very important way how to start to look on all of those debates and all of those arguments, because this is one of the things that we spoke. I said last week already, why won't we have a lot of very pure people, very righteous people that will behave in the right way, but they won't be as a nation. And this is exactly what will bring people not to behave in the right way, because people will say to themselves, to behave as a righteous person, it's only when you are a monk in some sort of a place that is closed with yourself. But if you want to build up a nation, so this is where you can't behave in the right way. And this is why God is insisting with him, and we'll see it in the next few verses also. God is insisting that he will drop off all of the people that he managed to bring them under the understanding of what is God, and to do the conversion with them, that they will do conversion, and to start to rebuild a community from his dynasty, from his kids, that will be a nation, but a holy nation, that will bring blessing to the world. This is more or less what I wanted to speak today with the time that I finished. I think that there are questions, right? I saw questions.
Rabbi, I posted a YouTube link to a 3-minute video in the chat room there that shows a 3D representation based on a really elite Jewish archaeologist there and it shows ancient Salem in the time of Melchizedek and Abraham right near the base. So there's a link there if anybody cares to look at it. It's 3 minutes long. It's just amazing the things they're turning up.
Fine. I'm asking myself if it's relevant. No, with the time it's a bit hard. Okay, maybe at the end we will manage also to show this to all of us. In any case, I'm catching this. Michaela asked a very good question. Michaela, since I'm closed here in this room and the reasons for my family that I can't go down, I can show you here now 8 books, and it's not the last books that we have about Rashi commentary and exactly from where he got his sources. There is a very, very long explanations, very deep explanations, and all of them are very related to what exactly is written in the Bible in the Hebrew understanding. The Hebrew understanding is a bit different than all of the other languages, and I think we said it more than once. So we have 2 main sources of Rashi. The source number 1 is that we got with the written Bible, we got also an oral Bible. We have 2 Bibles, okay, with us. The oral Bible was hidden from all of the world until the last 20, 30 years we started to speak. And this is where Rashi is explaining things from the oral Bible. But it's much more deeper than that, because we have 4 different stages when we are learning the Bible, okay? It's called Pardes, Pshat, Drash, Remez, Vesod. It's 4 levels of understanding. If I remember correctly, a year ago, I gave a lesson about those 4 understanding. I gave an example about those 4 understanding. Maybe we need to do this example again, or another example similar to explain that. But everything is very related to the things and the way that it's written down through the Hebrew vocabulary and through the Hebrew understanding and through the inheritance and the secrets that we hold along history. Therefore, Rashi himself is one of the most highest levels, I will say like that. I think he is the highest level, and things that he is saying have a lot of profound understanding and more profound understanding and more profound understanding. One of the great people who explained this for 40 years, not 1 year, for 40 years, was the Chabad Rebbe, okay? Rabbi Schneerson, the last one that died 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And he, for 40 years, he was explaining Rashi, and he was combining all of those things from something like 40 books.
Wow.
Yes, it's very, very profound what this Rashi is explaining. Maybe I need to do another example. I don't know if you remember, it was we explained a bit Abraham, that he was giving food for all of the people that they came to visit him in his tent. Maybe we need to show this again, or we'll show something else to explain this a bit, how we can show or we can understand things in 4 different levels. Okay, it's this is a profound thing that we are learning for a lot of years. It's I'm sorry, I don't have any shortcuts for this. Yes, we came to the lead time.
Hi, Rabbi. Did we touch on the second question here about conversion?
We have another question. Just a moment. Let me see.
Also from Michaela, what did conversion consist of at the time of Abraham?
Excellent questions. Excellent question. In the time of Abraham, I will say it like that. In the time of Abraham, we didn't have a Jewish people. There wasn't any Jewish nation. There was the old Hebrew nation. I'll say it like that. And the Hebrew nation basically believed in the 7 laws of Noach, especially in the thing of what we call, without idolatry, in one God. One God who created the universe, one main thing that did everything. And the conversion that we're speaking about is not becoming a Hebrew person, because this is something that wasn't there, but more to believe that there is one God. This was the conversion that we're speaking about in Abraham time. Abraham himself wasn't Jewish; he was a Hebrew person. Okay, he was part of the Hebrew nation, the lost Hebrew nation. We saw 2 weeks ago that they had a hobby to put them inside the fire and to kill the Hebrew nation. We know something similar in the last 70, 80 years, where they're putting the Hebrew people inside the fire and burning them. It was already then. This is what the word Ur Kasdim. Ur is the fire and of the Kasdim of this nation. Abraham was one of the people who survived the Holocaust of Ur Kasdim. But in those days, it wasn't that they were the Hebrew nation. God is saying to him that he's going to rebuild the Hebrew nation. So when we're saying that they converted them, the meaning of this is they stopped believing in idolatry and started to believe in one God who created this world.
Amen.
Fine. Okay, now I can see all the people around. Hi, good to see you all. Lee, it's your turn. Yeah, I'm closing myself.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi Chaim. I apologize ahead of time. I'm gonna have to cut out a couple of minutes early. I think maybe we'll go to around 9:15 or so. We'll try to leave time for questions at the end. I hope you can all see me, and I'll start sharing my screen. So thanks everybody for joining me, for giving me the opportunity to be part of your learning. We're continuing in Brit Shalom, the daily living for Noahides. Okay, just as a quick recap, where are we holding? Okay, we're holding in this section, chapter 6 of what I call the section of man and fellow. After we lay down the foundations, we talked about the preservation of human life, and we're talking about love and family and divorce. Okay, and we're nearing the end of chapter 6. Just a second. Okay. Okay, we talked about modesty last time and refraining from spending time with another's spouse in a closed room, marriage document, avoiding immodest sights, etc. Okay, so we stopped here on point number 6, and we wanted to touch on this a little bit. Rabbi Chaim, I can offer my explanation. I'm going to try to kind of stick to a simple explanation. But it sounded last time like you wanted to expand more on this. So I'll offer what I can. Okay, here this is talking about the laws of family purity, which are obligatory on Jews, and it's basically saying here. We'll just read here clause number 6. Noahides who want to observe the laws of family purity concerning a woman's menstrual cycle or monthly cycle in the manner of Jews are permitted to do so. Okay, there's a list of laws forbidding husband and wife from being together during a woman's monthly cycle, and many other laws that come out of this in terms of purity and impurity. Also, the times of when the temple is standing, also to a degree during this time. I think suffice it to say, kind of two major lessons out of this. This separation between man and wife. So the first is our rabbis stated that it is a practical lesson. If husband and wife are permitted all the time, it could bring husband and wife to see each other in a negative light, or to devalue time together. And as they say in English, distance makes the heart grow fonder. And here, literally speaking, right? So there's distance for a period of time every month, and there are certain additions. There's a biblical level to this. There's a rabbinic level to this. So I think kind of Yeah, each couple should also seek the consultation of a rabbi or of an Ohad sage, practically speaking. But suffice it to say, as kind of a first level, I think that the idea is clear that when a woman's going through her cycle, the couple are separated, and they can focus on more spiritual or emotional things during that time. One of my rabbis suggested that there be specific learning that the couple do just for that period of time, so that they can still have quality time together, but it's not physical time. And again, as we said, the first kind of major lesson that our rabbis bring, kind of on the simple level, is distance makes the heart grow fond. Taking it a step a little bit deeper is kind of a little bit behind the reasoning behind this separation. So there's actually a number of laws in the Torah, also biblical and also rabbinic, that basically distance us from things that could have given life and now don't, or death, being the most severe of the cases, and these carrying with them purity and impurity. Again, suffice it to say, whatever increases life in quality and quantity, we grow closer to, and areas of life that have limited life or that are associated in some manner in various degrees to death, we distance ourselves from. So like a common kind of day-to-day example is like cutting one's fingernails. Right? This is a piece of the body that was living to a degree, and it was involved in a person's service of God, and now we cut it off. And basically we say this is now dead. This now doesn't have a part of my daily service. Okay, so what do we do? It's customary to wash your hands after cutting one's fingernails. And again, the kind of common thread there being taking a step back from things that limit life. And so in this particular example, right, the monthly cycle is effectively a woman's tremendous ability to give life not being brought into fruition, right, and the body kind of cleansing out that possibility. Okay, so this is kind of a little deeper level of understanding. Rabbi Chaim, did you want to expand on this point, or should we move on?
I'm asking myself how much to go inside to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I did along, my as you all know, I was a high school principal, and I had also students who graduated, and after 2, 3, 5 years after they graduated high school, sorry, they decided to get married with the beloved girls, and I was preparing them to live as a Jewish life. Okay, the preparation, what we call the preparation, how to live a Jewish life. And there are a lot of things that can go inside here, because it wasn't one meeting of half an hour. It was usually few meetings, a few hours each time. I will say only one important thing here in this situation. We have two different kinds of human in this world. We have the man side and the human side. Those are two different entities that are working here in this world and living differently, totally differently, one from each other. Okay, the human side, all of human, okay, they are living the cycle of the biometric side. Do you know what biometric is? Have you heard about this word? This is a very interesting word that is coming from the East world, from the Mizrach. How do you say it? From all of the places there that the Japanese, the Far East. The Far East, yes, exactly. And they have an explanation that each one and one of us is living from the way that he is going out from his mother's womb in a few cycles of life. One is the emotional cycle, the other one is a physical cycle. And we have 4 cycles, 4 different cycles that are running all the time, and it's going, to the highest level, to the down level, to the highest level, to the down level. And the woman is living in this cycle. She is living it, okay, in a normal way. The men's side in this world are not living in this way. In some sort of a way, the men's side are a bit dumb. They don't know how to live in this world. It's not funny, it's true. And this is why the men need to get married to start to know how to live in this world. If you remember, I told you more than once that the woman wasn't kicked out from Eden, but she went out because we can't live without her here in this world, the men's side. So this is something that we, the men's side, need to learn from the women's side. How exactly to live the right time, to understand exactly the time, the period of time that we are inside, the right period that we are. Are we in the timing of being together? Are we in the timing of being a bit separated? There's the verse in Kohelet. How do you say Kohelet? Proverbs. How do you say Kohelet in English?
Ecclesiastes.
How do you say?
Ecclesiastes.
Okay, so this the verse there, it says, Et lahavok ve'et lirchok mechabek. There is a time that you need to hug, and there's a time that you need to separate yourself. And this is how it's working. By the way, we have a system of that in our body. The nervous system is the parasympathetic nervous and the sympathetic nervous. The sympathetic nervous is the one that is, you want to hug and to love on each other. And the parasympathetic is the time that you need the fear, that you want to be a bit far from the other one. We are waking up in the morning with the parasympathetic thing. The reason why we have the strength of waking up is because we remember, we need to do this, and I need to wake up and to do those things. Some sort of a fear. So this is something inside our body. But the men's side of this world is not listening enough to this thing in their body. The woman's side is listening to this thing, to this circle of life, to this cycle of life. And this is where we're getting married, okay? To start to get more, the men's side, to get more realization how really we need to live this life here. So this is a point that I wanted to mention. We can go inside to this much, deeper and more profound, but this is enough. And what it says here, and it's related also to chapter 13, I think, where we're explaining that you are managed, or you are allowed to do more halachot, okay, more things, more mitzvot if you want to do. So in chapter 13 also, it will be mentioned that if you want to keep the way that the Jewish people are keeping their families, you are allowed to do that as a Noachide. You want to do this, in what level you want to do this, it's another question. But basically you can do that. And this is one of the secrets how the Hebrew nation managed to hold their families for such a long time, a long history. This is one of the big secrets, I will say it like that, because people are really asking themselves, how come what we call in Hebrew the Shalom Bait, how come they managed to realize or to do those relationships between husband and wife and to keep the families so strong in the Hebrew nation? This is one of the ways that we did it, by understanding that the men's side will adjust themselves to the woman's side, how to live the time. I think it was clear enough, rightly? That's it.
Wonderful. Yeah, I definitely couldn't have done it justice like you, Rabbi Chaim. We had an additional, you already touched on it, but Lisette here asks a practical question. Is it allowed for a Noahide to visit a mikveh or a ritual bath? So yeah, I'm just, I pulled up here in another window, actually chapter 13, were exactly what you just said, Rabbi Sharkey writes. Okay, the Torah delineated, I'm reading here in clause number 10, the Torah delineated many types of ritual purity applicable to Jews, but these do not apply to Noahides, meaning they're not required by Noahides. However, it is a good practice for men to immerse in a mikveh, in a ritual bath, after seminal emission, and for women to do so at the conclusion of their monthly period. Okay, so I hope this answers your question, Lisette. And if anybody's asking themselves, how could the Torah, does the Torah get into such details? So as we've said many times before, the Torah is called the Torah of life, Torat Chaim. The Torah discusses, it discusses marital harmony, and it discusses idolatry, and it discusses, in our next chapter, we'll discuss the holiness of possessions, right, and robbery, etc. Okay, so the Torah, and as also Rabbi Chaim said in the earlier part of the class, the Torah is meant to be a blueprint for a society in every regard, in all levels, from the individual all the way up to the collective.
I must say, this is the greatness of the Torah. The greatness of the Torah is that it managed to go inside to all of the small, tiny, bitty details of everything in life, and to say to us, this is a correct way how to live it, and not to say that there are places where God is not interfering, God is not connected with. And when we think about this in a profound way, and when we say that God is one, so he is everywhere. He have, I will say, fingerprints in every step and everything that we are doing. We can't say that this is outside the boundaries of God. No, because God is related to everything, and he is showing us the light, the way, the right way for everything that we are doing in every part of life, and we're not saying to ourselves, this is not part of life, so we can't deal with this.
So this is in contradistinction. Rabbi Sharkey brings this verse a lot from the New Testament of right where Tenda Elohim et Tasher Elohim, give God what is to God, and give the Caesar what is to Caesar. So it's this like what's known today as the separation of church and state. Right. This is not a Torah idea. Right, because as we're saying, there's holiness in everything, in every walk of life, right? So of course God has what to say. Of course the Torah is going to get into a person's bedroom and into the parliament and into business dealings, because there's holiness in everything that we do. Okay, so I hope this helps. Thanks, Lisette. Okay, and okay, moving on to purity in other manners of relations. What might be some of these relations might be called in English incest, but they're called in Hebrew arayot, basically like forbidden relations. Okay, illicit relations. Okay, a Noahide man is prohibited from having relations with any of the following and receives punishment for doing so. And these are detailed mostly in Leviticus. You can see chapters 18 and 20, Parashat, the portions of Acharei Mot, and also the Parasha of Kedushim, you shall be holy. Okay, so one's mother, father's wife, even if it's not his mother, even after his father's death, a married woman, a sister born to his mother, a male, and animals. There's what to be said, and thankfully, a lot of these concepts have broad acceptance. Broad acceptance in humanity today. It was in our learning, it's sparked my curiosity to see which countries where it hasn't necessarily taken ground, it hasn't necessarily been integrated, and there's no small number of countries in the world where it's still perfectly legal. Incest in various manners is still perfectly legal. And thinking more again about the kind of the deeper understanding behind our Torah's laws. This is a deep concept. There are a number of different avenues taken. There's kind of a one more practical of genetics and of disease that's passed on. There is another direction taken in the whole concept of what are called arayot in Hebrew, the illicit relations, which I found interesting. I'm still kind of digesting it myself, but I'll say it over. And it was essentially that a person's core, a person's self-confidence, and a person's confidence in others, and in meaning of life, and in kind of the fabric that holds together society, comes from the confidence and the comfort that one has in one's home with one's immediate and extended family. And if the kind of I won't say aggression, but if the competition or if the conflict that can come along with relations were to come into a person's core family unit, this could shake a person's entire self-image and image of those around him. If we take incredibly unfortunate circumstances where, God forbid, a daughter is raped by her father or by an uncle or something like this, it can destroy a woman's self-image. It can destroy her trust in men for her entire life. Another example from another unfortunate area of life is when there's domestic violence. A child grows up in a home where it's natural to be comfortable around mommy and daddy. If, God forbid, there's violence in a person's home, how broken a person's, again, self-image can be, and how difficult it can be for a person to overcome this trauma at such a young age. So this is another avenue. There's various levels, as Rabbi Chaim was alluding to earlier, kind of from the more literal to the more deep and esoteric avenues giving rationale to the Torah's laws. Okay, in addition to the above, right, aside from the above prohibitions, it is appropriate to refrain from all illicit relations detailed in the Torah and the book of Leviticus, which are Canaanite abominations, as well as relations between one woman and another. We touched on point number 2 here in the past, but in any event, the sages of Israel praised the other nations, since even though some of them violated the prohibition of male-to-male relations, they refrained from institutionalizing this practice. Now, unfortunately, this is becoming less true today, and there was like a huge noise made in the U.S. Supreme Court. I think it was something going on like 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, where again it was made legal. Male-to-male relations not only made legal, it was again, this is kind of like put into law, institutionalizing, right, in the United States. So our sages say that this is one of the reasons that kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back with regards to the flood. There's much more to say on this topic. We'll leave it at that for now. Okay, the court of Shem, the son of Noah, issued a ban on prostitution. Again, using this holy matrimony and this holy act in a very mundane or very profane fashion. I think it's thankfully pretty well adopted in certainly in the Western world, that this is illegal and against the will of God. It is forbidden for a Jewish man to have relations with a Noahide woman, and it's forbidden for a Jewish woman to have relations with a Noahide man. As we said many times in the past, this has nothing to do with race. This is not a racist idea. This is the idea of the Jewish people were chosen as kind of the conduit for prophecy, the conduit of God's will into the world, and we need to kind of maintain our identity in order to keep that channel alive. Sure. Michaela asks about the court of Shem. Right. So it's talked about Abraham. It's talked about also about Yaakov, about Jacob. Right. That he was Yoshev Ohalim, Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim. That he dwelt in tents. It's also talked about Rivka, right? Rebecca, that she went and asked God to resolve the situation in her pregnancy. Right. She had twins, and there was disharmony in her pregnancy, and she went to ask God what's going on. Right. So these references, these allusions, are to the court of Shem. This is the Beit Midrash, right? The tradition passed on from Adam HaRishon to Noach and through the generations to Shem, the son of Noah. flamboyant show much the act of selling promoting. Is this so? It's a good question. I think it's Dan, who's a broadcaster, is asking about prostitution. The Hebrew word for such has more to do with the flamboyant act of outward show and not just the act of selling sex, but selling in the act of promoting is the so. Right, so there is etymologically, there's a difference between znut, what's called a zona, and a kedesha. Kedesha this is like, as you said, this is like, unfortunately, I put in a woman being in the situation and selling herself. Zona is a slightly different situation. Selling in the act of promoting. Okay, so there is a bit of a difference, but I think in general the general idea is clear. Okay, one should not talk dirty about indecent subjects. In the Hebrew, it talks here about arayot, again, about illicit relations. There's take a slight tangent on generally the clean language of the Torah and also of the rabbinic tradition. Many times in the Torah itself, and also again in rabbinic tradition, they're referring to concepts which again are part of daily living and which are not unholy, but they're like kind of referring to them in modest ways, right? So even relations between man and wife, okay, either they're called relations or they're called, like in the language of Jewish law, they're called using the bedroom, okay, tashmish hamita. Even the bathrooms, right? It's like bet hakiseh, right? It's the place where you go sit, and other such concepts. It's we need to obviously discuss certain topics, but it's like wherever we can to kind of keep our speech clean, and this being the way, one of the many ways, one of the very practical ways of keeping holy. And we spoke about this above in terms of in the context of cursing, right? But there's what to be said about a person kind of like distancing from such speech in order to build a distance to such ideas, right? The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidic thought, lived about 300 years ago or so. He said that essentially a person is where his thoughts lie. Okay, so a person who is, I'm not talking about here about a person, practically speaking, if he needs to, I don't know, he's helping somebody kind of helping somebody on his way out from such a bad situation. I'm talking about a person who knows just speaking about indecent subjects without real intent. So kind of being there and discussing such subjects, okay, brings a person into that frame of mind. And so again, where there is need, okay, obviously if you're educating kids about it, or if there's certainly no shortage of discussion about the arayot and different subjects in this area in the halakha. That's where there's like we leave it to whatever is necessary.
Before we will continue, and maybe we will stop here because it's the end of this chapter. But before that, I want to say that this specific line, okay, this specific thing, number 5 here, there was, I think, something like a month and a half debate between all of the translations and what exactly the best translation for this line. Because in Hebrew, it says something...
it says arayot.
לא, אין לדבר על פה בדיני עריות, אני יודע. כן. לא, כן. And we asked ourselves exactly how to translate this to English and what exactly the exact wording to say in English. And I don't want even to say to you how the translation to French, and now it's complicated there. It's much complicated there. There is a very interesting question about the uniqueness of the Hebrew language. And there is a difference between the Maimonides and a very big giant, a very, very smart person, very holy person. His name is the Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman. What exactly is the uniqueness of the Hebrew language? Now, the Rambam, the Maimonides, is saying that the uniqueness of the Hebrew language is that you don't have ugly words for all sorts of ugly things. Okay, for example, he's giving few examples for things that are going out from our body. Okay, when we're going to the toilet, and there are things, there are all the dirt and all the things that our body is taking outside from itself. We have all sorts of words how to describe those things. In the Hebrew language, you don't have a word for that. The word is what is going out from your body. It's a one word. Se'atcha. So'atcha, right? There's one word that is...
they say in English, excrement.
Yes. Now, the Hebrew language, and as this example, is giving a lot of examples. Okay, Lee gave you also one of the examples. We say we're not expressing the sexuality between men and women, okay, in a positive way. What we are saying is that it's an act of the bedroom, or we're saying that it's we have another word that is related with the connection between men and women, but we're not using the word sexuality. Okay, the word sex is not coming inside this language, or this discussion that is. And this is where it says here, and Leah said it very, very, in a very exact way. Where your mind is, this is where you are at the end of the days. And today I think we know this even better with all of the storytelling that we have around the world. And we know how much influence we have when we are describing things and when we are speaking about things. And this is what it says here in this short note, what to speak and how to speak. If you will put your mind in a clean mind, this is where your life will be in a much more positive way to bring your life to a better stage. And if you will be in a dirty mind and you will speak in a dirty language, so maybe you will be cool in the subway, okay? But on the other side, you are going to be with yourself in your mind in a very hard, in a very low position in your life. And this is where it says here, okay, you should not speak a dirty language, all sorts of indecent subjects, especially in the arayot side, and especially in the sexuality side. You need to be in a way that we are not animals. We are above the animals, and we need to behave in a different way. And it all starts here in our mind and with our mouth and speaking, and also then with our actions. So thank you very much with this point. It's a very important point. And I think we finished the chapter, right?
Yeah, so we just finished also the book of Exodus in the synagogue. So as we say, when we finish like a chapter, we say chazak chazak v'nit chazek. We should be strengthened together. So we finished chapter 6, and we'll march on chapter 7, the status of possessions next week.
Fine, and we have next week, and I will say from the beginning now. In 2 weeks from now, we won't have a lesson because it's just. We're going out from Passover, okay? We won't be able also with the timing. I think that the timing already will be too much for us, rightly? We're also moving to daylight saving time and everything else. So 2 weeks from now, we won't have a lesson. We will have a break of Passover. But next week we have a lesson. Next week we're all going to meet here together, and it will be a pleasure for us. It was great being with you and great learning with you. And thank you very much for participating. And how do you say it?
Oh, Rabbi, it's always a joy to be with you and hear Torah coming out of Israel. So folks, once again, make sure next week you adjust if you're already on daylight savings time. As the Rabbi mentioned, they don't go to daylight savings until the 26th. So Here where I am, we're an hour later than we normally are. Stay based on Israel time, and you won't go wrong. I'm still glad to see everybody that made it from all around the planet. Just to give the public view a look of the gallery. I'm showing the gallery to everybody out there in YouTube and Facebook, and we got people. Nice to see Daniel here from Bogota, Colombia, and Jacoby. People from all over the planet. Netzak he's in not Poland. I keep getting this wrong, right? Right near Poland, right?
No, he's from the Czech Republic.
Czech Republic. I know he's close area there. We got people from all over, so it's just a joy.
Matityahu is from Poland.
Then that's my mistake. And we've got the McConaughey's have been joining us regularly all the way from the UK. Hans is down in South America. Lelaine is in the Philippines. Yes, Lelaine? Yeah, she's waving. Lara in New Jersey. My friend Angelica in Vancouver area, Canada. And Lisette, who's in the Dominican Republic. I finally got it right. And Solvig in Germany. Michaela in Rome. Paul down in San Antonio, Texas area. It's just a joy to be with Rabbi Goldberg and Lee Fogel.
Owana, from where are you, Owana? You're from England, right?
Who?
Yeah, that's right. You are from the UK as well.
Yeah. Okay. This is a person that don't really know how to speak English, but never mind now.
Forgive me. Well, my friends from Alberta couldn't make it today. They could have at the hour earlier time, but they're looking forward to coming back next week. So it's just always such a joy to be together and see communities begin to start to flourish all around the planet. But this is only possible as the light of Torah continues to shine, and it's just a joy to have it shine out of Jerusalem. So till next week, we're going to aim for the same time next week. We're going to sign off, Rabbi. Are we good, or have you got any final words?
Fine. Everything is fine. See you all hopefully next week. Thank you very, very much.
Chodesh Tov to everybody. A good month.
Good month.
All right. Bye for now, folks.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Paul.